how do you manage your kind of medicine for mindfulness? So take us through a Ruby day. Do you wake up and do you always wake up feeling different? Do you wake up feeling awful?
Mostly awful.
So it's anxious, stressed,
Heartbreak. Yeah, the whole,
heartbreak.
yeah, heartbreak.
Ouch, ouch, Ruby.
Well, you don't have that? See, to me, it's like
No,
that's my perfume.
no.
Then I go and drag myself into
So do you not want to get out of bed? Is your first thing, I want to do this?
yeah, I wish I was ill so I could stay in here. But I'm not. So then
So you talk to yourself. There's a voice saying, come on, get out of bed.
I guess so. Yeah, I sort of hear my mother's voice.
Oh,
Then
no, not that voice. That
not that
horrible
loud. No, she's fading away. She's
voice.
fading.
Okay. Oh,
But
God.
then I go and drag myself into this place where, and I meet 3 times a week with just a small group and we meditate together. Now, as you said, if you do mindfulness, you could really, there's a change in the brain if you do 1 minute a day, and everybody has, you don't have to sit on a gluten-free cushion. You could do it standing when you're waiting for things and nothing's going on. You
Take a
don't have
breath.
to go to the gym because your brain is in there. You don't have to, your barbells are in your head. So you can do it anywhere. But because I got my degree in it, I have depression. So I really need to tune into the weather conditions. And not always, because if we went blank, we'd be dead. So the thoughts are there and they come and go. But
So just tell me, you go into your group and there's 3 or 4 of you that know each other. You kind of
or
nod,
what,
you sit
yeah,
down, and do you kind of literally do your omming, or do you
I don't
breathe?
plumbing. I would say that's a Buddhist thing. This is what I
Okay.
did at Oxford. So if you track any sensation, even if it was, let's say, listening, sound, as soon as you're plugged into that, or you feel your feet on the ground, or even if you had those worry beads, that's such a,
Yeah.
anytime you're physical, and athletes know this too, you feel you're behind sitting on the chair, the cortisol starts to come down a little bit because you're tuned in. It doesn't stay there. The thoughts will drag you up again. But the kindness and the thing is, it's an exercise, just like a sit up. You notice the thoughts and you escort it back to, let's say, the breathing or the sound. Thoughts come, you bring it down gradually to the sound. It's an
So
up.
when you bring it down, that's through your breath.
Yeah, or if you
So you
chose,
just center yourself. I'm back in my body. I feel my bum on the seat, my feet on the ground.
except you're not talking. You just are now sensing. So there's a different area in the brain that activates when you're sensing, and a different one activates when you're blah, blah, blah,
Blah, blah, blah.
But when you pull it down, the thoughts are still there, but a little quieter, like somebody
Like a
said,
bit further behind.
a radio in another room. Then they get loud again. Then you just take it down. But eventually, it's like you're arm wrestling. Eventually, the thoughts get so tired. There's not blank, but
They
there's,
fall
I
over.
think they come in, they're like fireworks that sort of go out. So it'll go, boy, are you an ass? And then they're out. Or, you know what else you didn't? And they sort of lose their flair.
They lose their punch.
They lose their punch. Of course, then it'll come in again. I mean, otherwise you'd go, oh my God, I'm in a Buddha state. And sometimes the thoughts are, this is so unbelievable what I'm doing. I must be so evolved. Those are thoughts too. So you take those and bring it back to your breath. So it's the up and down that exercises that insula and the anterior cingulate, those bits of the brain that get buff like a muscle. It's not a muscle, but so.
But also we get hooked on them, right? They become, so you can in the same ways you have a pattern, you can get hooked on them. You can create a new pattern
that
you unhook.
And
so that becomes your new pattern.
A little bit like that. It's like taming a wild horse. And so when I lose
rein it in,
it'll come down much quicker. It's not like I don't have the spike. And then sometimes I can get it while I'm still, after I gave the person grief. I can even say, I'm sorry. I don't know. I found out I got a parking ticket. I'll even lie. But it used to be that I'd want to bump up the anger because I was so addicted. So I'd make phone calls going, and you know what else he said to me? Because, the adrenaline is delicious.
You feel powerful.
Yeah. And then you call somebody else and bore the hell out of them going, and then you know what he said? And all of this is, the whole body goes into that. Yeah.
You
And it's
become super.
especially for somebody who hears the war sirens, you know, I get power.
Then you face your heartbreak afterwards when you know that you've crashed and burned all over the place.
You depleted yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like you have a hangover from your own anger.
So just to get back to a Ruby day, you do your mindfulness group that takes half an hour.
45 minutes. But when I don't have the group, I'll still do it. Or if I can't do it, I'll do it in the car or the Uber or on the tube. Because if, let's say, you're tuning into sound, let's see, you're just listening. Even if you're on the tube, you're not trying to hear nothing. You just listen to the notes and whatever, watch the thoughts go, come back to the sound. Any sense. It could be drinking coffee, you taste the coffee, watch where the thoughts go, like, oh my God, I have to be somewhere, come back to the taste. It's just the up and down. That's like exactly like.
It's just bringing you back to the moment, bringing you back to the present, bringing you back to the present.
But I don't see it as the present. I see it as that these bits of the brain that are in charge of self-regulation and attention.
Your amygdala.
So I can't focus on things longer than I ever could before. I really could focus. Otherwise, why would I sit there in the closet doing it?
And writing a book. I mean, you wrote a book in 3 months.
Yeah, that was. But don't you like the ending when I lose it with the publisher and start screaming at her?
I do.
Mindfulness, and then I'm standing there screaming, I'm not going to hit that deadline.
You're never. I love your honesty, Ruby.
Oh.
And so she said no, and I lost it. And I had an earpiece hanging out of my ear with a recording of Tara Brach telling me, let go of my thoughts and be calm, as I stood up, soaking wet in my swimsuit, weeping in anger and howling.